All right, music fans, welcome back. Harmless Dave here, talking real music in real time for a few real people out there just like you and just like me. All right, before I get going here, this album came out at the beginning of the year. I have vinyl, ladies and gentlemen. There's the actual record. Edge of Forever. Yeah, I'm doing a great job here displaying the album. It's called Seminole, and it's my friend Alessandro Del Vecchio. He is the architect, uh, the chief executive officer of this band. Really interesting, progressive, melodic rock. I've got white vinyl. How many times do you see white vinyl, right? Just really cool. Edge of Forever, Seminole. I don't even know how to classify this. It's melodic, it's progressive. Um, the themes really echo this album by Kansas I used to listen to all the time called Monolith. And it's one that they've focus tested out of existence. There was some really great stuff on that album. But, the band kind of went back to being a little bit more progressive. And I don't know, the record label probably wanted another Dust in the Wind. Anyway, it's really good stuff and produced and written, I think, entirely by Alessandro Del Vecchio, who's also part of the Sunstorm project. You know what's cool about albums, right? You open them up and you got the lyrics and you got nice pictures. This is the stuff I did as a teenager, just hanging out in my room and just browsing and looking at all of the information. It's how you learn stuff too. It's like a reading assignment. You read the lyrics and you see who's playing on the record, and it's cool. That's one of the great things about vinyl. So there you go. Edge of Forever. If you're a fan of Edge of Forever, you might like Ozzy Osbourne. I don't know. Maybe not. I don't know if the two go together. That's I'm trying to make the connection here as I put the album back because it's about to fall off the table here. Ozzy has decided to leave the United States because of gun violence. Yeah. Anyway, his decision, I think, more has to do with the idea that he's getting older. He thinks it's crazy here in the United States, and he's kind of right. Now, it's interesting, though, that he focuses on only the publicized, media-driven incidences that have occurred, like the school shootings. He talks about school shootings. And look, Ozzy, he can do whatever he wants. He can go wherever he wants to. But apparently he had this interview with The Guardian. He said that his concerns about the recent mass shootings in the country had a significant impact on this decision. Moreover, he added that he did not want to die in America, but to return to his own country and be buried there. But he said if his wife wanted to go somewhere else, he could keep up with her. But in the end, he wanted to return home. This is Ozzy's actual comment. Everything's effing ridiculous there. I'm fed up with people getting killed every day. Of course, he's talking about the United States. Now, it's interesting. He says people getting killed every day. Now, there aren't school shootings every day. I don't think there are. I mean, I guess if you study this out, there would be way more than we're actually seeing in the media. But when there's one of these Uvalde type events, people are going to talk about that a lot. Meanwhile, in Los Angeles, where Ozzy has been hanging out or close to, there has been a huge increase in just regular, everyday gun violence, where there's a lack of police enforcement when it comes to violent crimes. I mean, I think our priorities are totally screwed up. I mean, we'll lock somebody up and we'll throw away the key because they have a little substance on them, right? And they weren't causing any problem, any violent problem. And we'll be really strict on that, and there are strict sentencing guidelines and all that. But when it comes to violent crimes, the system right now is like a turnstile. You just go around, you come back out. It's like that's it, and it's kind of sad. But um, in LA alone, I think 1,400 people were wounded and 400 people died in 1 year. So, yeah, the mass shootings are horrible, but this daily onslaught, and this is one American city. So, as much as I empathize with Ozzy, I think, you need to correct the record a little bit there, Oz, and say that, it's not just these well publicized problems. It's an everyday occurrence because, number one, America has lost its way. We're not a good people. We're not a virtuous people. We're not a decent. There are many great people in this country, decent people, but there are a lot of people that seem to live to do others harm. And how do you correct that? Well, there are ways to correct it. You can talk about morals and values and religion and faith and the things we used to believe in collectively for the most part, with some deviations. Even if you didn't, go to the same church as someone else, you kind of had a grounding, whereas today there is no grounding. Everybody does what they want to do, and there are really very few human connections. So I understand Ozzy wanting to go back to his native homeland, right? To, as he says, be buried. Hopefully he doesn't think he's, going to not live for very much longer, but I'm sure that's factored in his mortality. He wants to go home and be close to the things that give him comfort. I'll tell you what, British culture is very strong, very powerful for those who live in it. And it's a way of life, and it's a cherished way of life for those people who were born into it. So I think that's a good thing. I think he misses the mark a little bit here on what the actual problem is, or at least not telling the whole story. There are a lot of other problems with California when it comes to the homeless population, the stuff that you might find on the street as you're walking around. Not going to go into too much detail because you might be eating, so I don't want to just, ruin it for you. But I think Ozzy makes sense here, wanting to go back to the UK. But again, he's kind of towing the company line. Now, in the case of Sharon Osbourne, of course, she had this TV talk show, and she didn't show the proper level of outrage about the whatever topic it was, had to do again with certain groups of people that you're supposed to feel empathy for, and she did, but she didn't do it properly. And then at that point, she was called some names, and this all took place on television where you could see it play out. And it just shows how crazy the world has gotten, where someone like Sharon Osbourne, who seems to be very politically correct for the most part, gets ostracized and then eventually, I think, either is fired or decides to leave the show. I can't even remember. It's a talk show. It's like one of them daytime talk shows that most people were watching back in the 1990s. Apparently, there are a few of them that are still on TV. I don't know who watches these shows, but apparently enough people watch them to keep them on the air. So it's kind of interesting. As a footnote, Uncle Ted, who I guess claims to be a friend to the Ozman, says that Ozzy is leaving because LA is a bleep hole, right? That might be partly true. And you know what? That might be the private Ozzy Osbourne and not the public Ozzy Osbourne. That might be Ozzy talking to Nugent saying, I can't say this, Ted, but, and Ted's like, I'll say it for you, right? And he did. He basically did. I don't know who's got the correct story. My guess is Nugent probably has the correct story. But Ozzy putting on this public persona, I'm leaving because of gun violence, school shootings. Okay. It's weird because all of these Native Americans, not like Indians, but people who were born here Well, they could be. They could be Indians, but you can't say Indian anymore. So anyway, if you were born in the United States and you're one of these Hollywood types and you threaten to leave, right, because so-and-so gets elected president or this law get passed, right, or the Supreme Court ruled a certain way, they always threaten to leave and then they don't leave, right? They just stay and they just complain. And I just don't understand why, if they've got the money, right, why not just jump on your private jet and get on out of here? You know, there are plenty of islands, you know, banana republics. Since we're kind of resembling a banana republic, I guess it makes sense that they would want to leave and maybe go to another one. So yeah, that's my video on the topic. All right, one more time as I reach over because that's really cool. Edge of Forever, Seminole, pretty cool. I think that's like a Native American on the cover. So you got to be careful with how you word things these days. Really cool that I have vinyl. I have a few of these, and I may get more. I have a vinyl player, as they call them now. We used to call them turntables, but now they're called vinyl players. It is vinyl, and it does get played on there, so I guess it's okay. Anyway, folks, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. Patreon, if you can afford to do Patreon for $1 a month, it's helpful. I don't beg. I don't do this like a telethon type of thing. I just say if you can do the $1 a month, you like the content, you want to have a two-way conversation without all the offensive words that show up on Twitter, which I like to call the Brown River, then Patreon is a great place to go. Typically, we have friendly folks over there who actually like the content. And therefore, you know, most of it is pretty positive. And I need that. Everybody needs some positivity in their life. All right. See you soon.